Hey guys, and welcome back to the full-time travel planning series. In today's video, we're going to be talking about so many things related to banking on the road, foreign transaction fees, how to avoid ATM fees, all of these things that are going to help save you money. Today's video, we're going to go ahead and share with you 8 different tips that are going to help you in a few different ways. Number 1, understanding what your bank charges for foreign transaction fees. How I avoid ATM fees all across the world. Knowing which ATMs to use and which ones might be rigged with something to steal your information. And so many more tips we're going to share with you in this video. By the end of this video, you should feel very confident on what banks are a great option for you. Additionally, what are some of these safety tips to avoid getting robbed by an ATM, to avoid getting robbed by fees from your bank, and all of these other tips and strategies that are going to keep more money in your pocket. Because it's your money and you worked hard for it. All right guys, and number 1 on the list here is what bank do I use? So Charles Schwab is the bank that I use. They're mainly an e-bank, an online bank, and I love them. No, I'm not sponsored by them, but I feel like I almost am, because every month at the end of the month, if I went to an ATM that month, I get a credit in my account. Yes, that's right, a credit. Anywhere in the world, they refund my ATM fees. So, you know when you're typing on the ATM and it says, do you agree to the $2.50 or $3 or $5, whatever it is? Yes, I do agree. Perfect, because at the end of the month, Charles Schwab refunds me that money back directly to my account. I recommend setting a bank up with them. They are fantastic. For outside of the US, I was recommended Starling and Revolut. I think that's how you say it. Don't quote me. But those are also good banking options as well. What I would recommend though is to look up in your country, if you're not from the United States, what banks have a similar program, because if you do that, you might be able to have those exact same benefits. I would expect that as the banking industry is very competitive, more banks across the world to stay competitive are going to offer something along the lines of what Charles Schwab offers, which is refunding my ATM fees. It's amazing. Number 2 is a strategy related to safety when banking. So this does not happen often, knock on wood, but it happens. In some countries, I'm not going to name specific ones, but in some countries there have been cases where a tourist or a traveler was taken and basically held hostage until they emptied all of their money out of their bank account. Yes, talk about horrible, horrible. Just getting all of your money taken. And that's very hard to get back in a lot of cases, especially when you're in a foreign country. I don't want to scare you. I want to set you up with a plan to mitigate any possible risks. What do? And hopefully someone doesn't find me and attack me now that I have given this strategy. But it's a risk I'm willing to take because I want you guys to have this strategy as well. What I do is I have 2 bank accounts. I know I said I would never have any other bank than Charles Schwab, but I keep just a little bit of money in my Charles Schwab account. And then I have another bank where I keep most of my money. That way, if I'm ever held in another country by someone and they try and take all of my money from me, I'll put my card in the ATM and they can take a couple $100 from me in my Charles Schwab account because that's all they can see. Well, their loss, not mine, because my money was hidden in another account. And I won't bring that other debit card out with me. That debit card stays back in a secret spot when I go out and explore the city wherever I'm visiting. That way, if something does happen, there's really no way they can get that money unless they're watching this video right now and they're going to follow me back to my place and hold me ransom. But once again, I'm doing this for you guys. Number 3, it's notifying your banks of your travel plans. I have had some instances where my cards didn't work when I got to the destination and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't taken any cash out. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Well, the good news is I've had cell phone service, so I've been able to go into the app and put in the travel notification and then the card works. But maybe not every country in the world I'm gonna have service in. Maybe some of you guys won't have signal when you arrive to a certain destination. Whatever that might be, check that box, let your banks know where you're going to be, and then they're gonna do two things for you. They're gonna make sure there's not fraud, and then they're gonna allow your card to work when you need it most. Number 4, this one is critical. So I'm gonna talk about this in a few different parts here. Number 1 is make sure that when you go to an ATM, you're going to a trusted ATM. My rule of thumb is when I'm in a foreign country, I always go to a brick and mortar bank. And in most countries, I try and go into the ones where you can go into a glass door area, usually before you go into the actual bank. There's an in-between part where you're able to pull money out. I always try and go to those banks because usually they have the least amount of risk that the ATMs could be messed with. Now, what do I mean with the ATM being messed with? So very skilled and very, very talented. Yes, I'm saying talented and skilled because they somehow managed to get away with this. People will go ahead and they will rig the ATMs where they put a piece into the card reader where when you put your card in, it'll pick up the numbers and then they can basically recreate that card and go and spend your money. Additionally, they'll put a camera there too. So it'll look like it's an ATM camera, but really they're actually stealing your PIN number too as you type it in. You're scared, aren't you, right? Well, this video is meant to take away those fears and equip you with what you need to know. So number 1 is just go to a trusted bank like I was talking about. Number 2 is inspect the ATM, the keypad. Check around for cameras that just don't seem right. See if there's any loose objects hanging near the card reader. If you find any of that, do not use that ATM. That means there are hackers most likely trying to steal your information. So hackers, scammers, whatever you want to call them. Number 5 is know your different cards' foreign transaction fees. So if you're like me, I travel with a few different credit cards and I travel with debit cards. The reason being is certain types of purchases or certain categories I use different credit cards on because I'm able to get more of a percentage of cash back when I use my different cards. Now, one thing is, not all my cards are travel cards. One of them I have is called a Chase Freedom card. I'm only giving this example just to kind of help you understand. This is a great card in the US. It gives me 5% cash back on different categories throughout the year, sometimes groceries, sometimes gas, sometimes restaurants. And so I'll sometimes use this card. It's not my main card, but I'll use it when I'm shopping in those categories. However, I one time went to a grocery store in another country because I thought I was getting 5% back. Now, I'm pretty sure I did get 5% back, but I didn't even think about that after because I got a huge foreign transaction fee from them. That is not a good credit card to go travel with because they charge expensive foreign transaction fees. And no, I'm not talking about your conversion rate. I'm talking about just transaction fees for making a transaction in a foreign country. So I don't use that card at all, even if there's a 5% cashback offering. Now, I've adjusted my credit cards to make sure that I have travel credit cards, which have no foreign transaction fees, and then they also usually give me the best possible conversion rate back to my currency when I'm purchasing something in another currency. Read the fine print. If you don't want to read the fine print, call up your bank and just say, hey, do I have foreign transaction fees? What are they? How much are they going to cost me? And if you do, find another bank to travel with because there's other banks that will offer you no foreign transaction fees. Now, I'm going to cover credit cards, travel credit cards in way more detail. I'm going to be creating a complete series on this. I think at least 10 courses that will educate you on what credit cards to get. So I'm going to leave it there on credit cards. I just want you to know that is coming in May. All right, and the next point here is regarding ATMs. When you're going through the menu, after you've checked to make sure it's a legit ATM, when you're going through the menu, you select your cash. Then after, it's going to ask you a question that is a bit deceiving. It's going to ask you, would you like to have that ATM that you're at in the foreign country, convert the money back to your currency? It looks like you need to accept this in order to take the money out, but hit decline because they will use their own currency conversion rate to charge you more in most cases than your bank back at home would have charged you. So what you do is you hit no, do not accept conversion. That way your bank will determine what the conversion rate is when you withdraw that money from your account. So do that. It literally makes it look like you need to hit accept in order to get the money out, but that's just another way for that ATM, that bank, to make money from you. My next tip here is don't use exchange companies at the airport. They charge you so much. Just think about this. There is someone being paid to sit in that brick and mortar spot in the airport that they're paying rent for, they're paying hourly rate, and it's a company that's making money. Do you really think you're getting the most amount of money for your conversion? No. Is it convenient? Yes. So personally, I never use those conversion counters unless I just happen to randomly find like some extra euros in my pocket and I want to, swap out maybe 20 euros because I'm not going back to Europe for a while. Then maybe I will, only for the convenience factor. But for taking out some play money, some running around money, some, living expenses money when I go to a foreign country, I always go to an ATM because once again, my ATM fee is refunded by Charles Schwab. Once again, my bank is doing the currency conversion, so that's all saving me money. Now, that's probably only 5 to 10, maybe more percent of your money, but that adds up over time. Think about 5 to 10% on just $1,000. That's 50 to 100 bucks. Think about that on $10,000. Yeah, 500 to 1,000 bucks of your money. And think about that if you saved up a bunch of money for traveling the world and you gave that much money to the bank and you didn't get any really value from it. Avoid it. So the next tip here is avoid using a credit card to withdraw money. This is a big no-no. Most credit cards are going to charge you some sort of withdrawal fee because they are going to basically say that if you're withdrawing money that you don't even have because you're using a credit card, or maybe you do have it, you're just using your credit card, they want to charge you for that because you're basically taking a loan from them. So they're gonna hit you with some sort of fee straight away for taking money out. And then if you don't pay that balance in full at the end of the month, now you just probably paid 20 to 30% interest on that money you just took out. So always try and use a debit card. Obviously, if an emergency comes up, it's nice to have that option, but don't make that your go-to. And then just building off that, guys, don't use a credit card to travel on. We've talked about in earlier videos, trying to travel the world and do it financially smart, financially safe, and not setting yourself up for failure. It can be tempting. Maybe you want to stay in Bali for another month and you can't afford it. Pick up a side job. Find a way to make some extra money, but don't put it on a credit card. Because just going back to what I was just talking about with 20 to 30% interest rates, imagine that you spend $1,000 on a credit card that you're not able to pay for a couple years, and you're paying 20 to 30% per year. You'll have almost paid double for that rather than just maybe taking some time off traveling, saving up some money. So be smart with your money. It'll save you so much money, time, and effort if you don't spend with a credit card that you can't pay off. But that said though, guys, I pay almost everything I buy with a credit card, but I pay it off in full every month because I like getting those travel points, those cashback rewards. So I do use a credit card. I'm just recommending don't use it if you're not able to pay it off in full at the end of the month. And so guys, I hope all those tips have helped you out. They have been very helpful in saving me money, and it's just crazy how quickly all of those fees can add up if you don't stay a few steps ahead of it. So follow those tips, guys, and they're gonna help you so much, save you so much, and set you up to travel even longer because you'll have more money in your pocket. Woo! And that wraps up this episode. In the next episode, episode 15, we're gonna be talking about safety tips. A bunch of different safety tips that I've learned from traveling around the world that I wanna share with you guys. Ways you can avoid getting robbed, ways you can avoid getting hacked, and so much more. So you're gonna feel so much more at ease, so much safer traveling once you've watched the next video, episode 15, where it's gonna share with you so many pieces of helpful information. And so guys, if you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up. It'll help other travelers like you find this content. And if you've enjoyed this, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming episodes. We're gonna have so much more content coming out for you guys. Thanks so much, guys, and see you tomorrow.